Distinguished participants and panelists, first of all, I would like to thank you for your participation in the Istanbul Security Forum, organized by Turkish Presidency's Directorate of Communications. During 14 sessions that we held throughout the forum, we had the opportunity to discuss the views and evaluations of our esteemed panelists and the current and vital issues on the agenda. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank our valuable panelists and moderators for their contributions. The first of the topics covered during the forum was the war between Ukraine and Russia and the regional and global effects of this war. And throughout the sessions, the necessity of diplomacy for solution of an international crisis such as the war in question was underlined, and it was stated that the international organizations in the current system were insufficient to prevent such large-scale crisis. Talking about the negative effects of the war in various fields, particularly in food crisis, migration, human security issues, the importance of Turkey's mediator and conciliatory role in maintaining regional and global peace and stability in this war, whose effects were felt globally, was emphasized. In another session where it was underlined that large countries such as the United States of America, China and Russia couldn't be, unfortunately, influential in global politics alone, and it was evaluated that medium-sized countries such as Turkey would increase their influence and have a greater say in the global politics through cooperation. The issues of climate change, which is one of the most essential and debated issue of our time, was also discussed in the sessions. And without eliminating the negative effects of climate change, another major problem couldn't be tackled. In another panel, while referring to NATO's strategic autonomy, it was emphasized that this concept should be reshaped. The concept of security architecture was given importance, and threats faced by NATO was discussed. In the panel, which also touched on terrorism, the NATO's stance against terrorism was discussed from a critical point of view. And the importance of the global South, Russia, China, and the United States was especially emphasized in the process of reconstructing the transatlantic security architecture. In the sessions on Balkans, efforts to maintain peace, security, and stability in the region, as well as the obstacles and problems encountered in this regard, were discussed, and the challenges and threats posed by global geopolitical changes, the conflict environment in Ukraine, refugees, minorities, and historical background of the region. In addition, the importance of Turkey as a regional power in terms of ensuring peace, prosperity, and stability in the Balkans with its soft power and diplomacy elements was emphasized in the session. Rapid changes in technology brought about a new security paradigm made up of unpredictability and vulnerability. And the evolving character of war was explained in relation to 6 themes as context, techniques, domains, technology, constraints, ideas, and military thought. It was also described that the character of the war and enemy has changed due to the need of time, advent of modern technology, modern ways of warfare such as lawfare, weapons, evolving debates and discussions on the principles, norms, ethics, and dealing with wars. Different topics related to Central Asia and organization of Turkic states were discussed in the next session. The opening remarks by the Secretary General of Organization of Turkic States touched upon subjects such as multipolarity of international world, the war in Ukraine, the struggle between China and the US, and other non-military conventional challenges such as pandemic, food and water shortages, mass migrations, and social and economic inequalities. In conclusion, it was decided that Organization of Turkic States has become the main platform for sustainable and institutional dialogue between Turkic countries and a reliable structure in regional cooperation. Also, it was argued during the forum that artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, and systems may accelerate the speed of misinformation and disinformation. In the session, it was revealed that the analysis of the materials in the media today dominates the field of targeted disinformation, and this has deep psychological and ideological effects on internet users. In the same session, it was emphasized that misinformation and disinformation knew no borders, and that the cooperation between states and governments was also important in combating against disinformation. After the definition of disinformation in the session, it was stated that disinformation continues to be a major problem all around the world. And it was stated that disinformation spreads much faster due to the technological developments in the digital age and social media. It has been explained in the session again that the opportunities offered by this age facilitate the interaction between people and institutions. But on the other hand, they cause disinformation to spread much faster. In another session, the problems in policy crisis were decided to be too great for single actors, and the loss of credibility in the diplomacy applied in crisis, and the weaponization of media as a manipulation tool, and the rise of the people is an important factor in the security of reputation. International reputation theory generally focused on answers, and it was important at the national level. That is a key factor in the past crisis. Speakers, the panelists who expressed their views on the crisis faced by the international system and their effects, interpreted their definition in different ways and discussed their effects with various dimensions. And in the panel, where changing world order, global health crisis, and regional conflicts were mainly discussed. Analysis on how terrorism benefits from this and how it develops itself formed the axis of the speeches. It has been determined that the connection between global health and terrorism, the increasing threat of terrorism with the pandemic processes have a multiplier effects on the crisis as a result of disinformative activities. It has been underlined in the sessions that the international system needs a new concept against these factors. The existence of political innovative names and the importance of systems were emphasized in the session. It was mentioned that the new approach to the way of solving the problems should be brought. For this, it has been said that the international system and organization need radical changes. At the same time, it was stated that efforts of other countries in the United Nations to ensure multilateralism should be supported, and the general criticism within the system should be followed seriously and decisively. In times of crisis, human security requires close and coordinated work, not only by the states but also by the international community at both bilateral and multilateral levels. And it was suggested that focusing on what needs to be done to facilitate the disaster preparedness process, and therefore starting to realize joint projects within the framework of the Organization of Turkic States and on the basis of state-private partnership. The challenges and opportunities created by the hydrocarbon resources in the Eastern Mediterranean for regional politics were also discussed during the forum. It has been noted in the session that with the discovered energy resources, Eastern Mediterranean has become one of the most important centers of global and regional competition. Another issue discussed in the session was the activities for extraction of energy sources in the region, and in the international law dimensions of these activities were evaluated in the panel. In this context, Turkey's sovereign rights in the Eastern Mediterranean were emphasized. And another topic which was discussed in the panel was the relationship between international security and energy security. The current issues in the power struggle in Sudan and how it affects the Middle East were also discussed in the Middle East session. It has been discussed that the security in the Levant and what can be the solutions in local, regional, and international level were evaluated during the panels. Furthermore, how we can advance the relations in the table with every side was also evaluated. In the light of these mentioned topics, we should be aware of that the definition and means of security cannot be explained with a narrow and traditional perspectives. On the contrary, the international system needs new platforms to discuss different aspects of the security. As Turkish Presidency's Directorate of Communications, we hope that Istanbul Security Forum will be a significant step to form a new dialogue platform in order to present comprehensive understanding of security. And a broadening and deepening approach towards security can be built on the basis of mutual understanding and cooperation. In this perspective, Istanbul Security Forum will be significant, I suppose, will provide significant contributions to willingness of international community to construct more secure international system. Me, on behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of Directorate of Communications, I would like to thank you all for your participation, for your contribution to the panels, and your valuable support to us. ISF, Istanbul Security Forum, was the first time organized, and we would like to organize in the upcoming years as well. So we want to make it traditional. On behalf of my friends and the Directorate of Communications, I would like to thank you for your contribution. This was the last session, concluding session of the forum, and thank you so much for your visits, for your participation. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Thank you.